Ed has been interested in the paranormal since he was 3 years old because that was the age he saw a ghost in a haunted house that he and his family lived in at the time. So since then, he's been amassing a large amount of literature on the paranormal. I don't think you're alone there, Ed, between this group.
No.
And you've been engaged in paranormal investigations irregularly from 2001 onwards, since you met CJ at university in Cheltenham. Ed also did some research work for an episode of Most Haunted and also for a DVD by Richard Felix. So over to you, Ed.
No.
Right. Ed, shall I start the video?
Yes, please. Okay, I'll talk over it. Good evening, everyone. This evening's talk I'm going to give is on the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel in Banff, which is Alberta, Canada. Okay. That's okay. Yep, so you can take that back off there now, CJ. Put it onto slide 2 for me if you wouldn't mind.
Did you want me to stop there?
Well, I can keep on talking if you want, but anyway, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'm going to give you a bit of a history lesson to start off with the beginning of the origins of the hotel, how it came into being, and then go through a little bit of the history of it, and then we're going to go into the ghosts at the end of it, or maybe halfway through it. Okay. Give an explanation of some of the stories and the hauntings in there. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, you can swap slides now. CJ, it's fine. Yeah. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So the hotel I'm going to talk about, they're both called the Banff Springs Hotel, and they're both owned by Fairmont. But the hotel I'm going to talk about is the one on the left, not on the one on the right. The one on the right is Banff Springs in Aberdeenshire in Scotland. Both are owned by Fairmont, so it's not actually plagiarism. But yeah, you got two of them there, just so you don't get confused. The one on the left is a UNESCO World Heritage Site, and I'm not alone in thinking that it looks very reminiscent of the Overlook Hotel in The Shining. The alleged history has certain similarities with the fictional hotel in that film. Okay, just slide 3, please, CJ. This is Banff. This is Banff Avenue in Banff, with a Cascade Mountain in the background there. This is a very famous view. I've actually stood there and taken a photograph myself. It's very impressive. So the hotel and the town are both in Banff National Park, and they're surrounded by the Rockies. And there's a good example of one of them, the Cascade Mountains. So I'm going to go into a short history of the hotel now. Banff Springs was originally built as a 100-room hotel in 1888 around an octagonal rotunda at a cost of $250,000 to cater for the Canadian Pacific Railway, and was a wooden structure with its architecture in the Scottish baronial style. If you can put the next slide on, please. Yep, there you go. So this is the 1888 100-room version of it. Okay, so we'll have a look at the next slide as well. Let's check that one. Yep, there you go. There's another view of it. It's quite a different looking building. As I said, made out of wood, completely different architectural style. And the last one, please, they do. Number 6, please. There you go. So there you can see the octagonal rotunda on the end of it. Okay. So apparently, when it was originally built, the builder somehow managed to get the building facing the wrong way away from the mountain scenery, which is, after all, why guests would like to stay in an exclusive hotel in the mountains. In 1902, it was modernised and expanded to have 200 rooms, and further plans were put forward in 1906, which corrected the orientation of the hotel so that it was now facing the mountains, and the present hotel developed from this period. The iconic 11-story central tower was added between 1911 and 1914. If you wouldn't mind sticking that one up, please, CJ. Slide 7 forward, please. There you go. This is known as the Painted Tower after its architect, and was the tallest building in Canada at that time. The new building cost $2 million. So that was the for that part of it, for the new building. Okay, $2 million. Move on to the next slide, please, CJ, number 8. So, 1926, we've got this new tower there. It's been there about 13 years at that point. You've got the old building that's been there nearly 40 years. It burnt down, or at least the old building burnt down. There was some damage to the tower as well, not severe to the wooden building. New tower's made out of concrete, so it didn't have that much effect. So the original structure burned down in 1926. The remains were cleared away for 2 additional wings that were added in 1927 and 1928. The hotel now has a total of 764 guest rooms. Okay, slide 9, please, CJ. Okay, here we go. Nice new building. This style is called Chateauesque. It's based on the classic French designs from the Loire Valley. It's probably around the turn of the 20th century. There's quite a few hotels in Canada of this style, and it's associated with Canada quite largely. And if you've ever seen the Peter Sellers film Being There, which is one where he plays the Chauncey Gardner, sort of a very innocent sort of man, and you'll have seen the Biltmore, which is built by the Vanderbilts, which is what they used as a set for the film. And that's in North Carolina, same sort of era. I've actually been around the Biltmore, a very impressive place, very big. So the hotel, it has some design elements from the arts and crafts movement as well, so it's sort of William Morris type architecture. Structure consists of steel frame, exterior clad in local limestone, which is Rundle limestone, I believe. Interior has oak beams, oak paneling, and linen folds, animal carvings, plasterwork on the ceilings, terrazzo floors, and stained glass work. Okay. Hotel contains restaurants, event spaces, 5 grass tennis courts, a swimming pool, a spa, a 27-hole golf course, and terraces. There is heated water from the hot springs and nearby sulphur fountain, so therefore it is very exclusive. King George VI and Queen Elizabeth, Queen Mother, visited in 1939 on their tour of Canada. The hotel has been able to be open all year since 1968. As before this, guests couldn't stay in the winter months, so it was sort of winterized in 1968. Okay, so that's a bit of the history lesson. Next thing is to go and have a look at the ghosts, because this is obviously the reason why you're listening to me this evening, and I hope so, unless you're architecture students. So if we could move on to slide 10 for me, please, CJ. Hello? Oh, got it. Right, cool, super. That's fine. The first thing I'm going to discuss then, the first haunting or alleged haunting, is room 873. Okay. You'll see here, you can see the door, the nearest door to you, and then you've got like an arrow pointing there. This is probably the most notorious at the Fairmont Banff Springs Hotel. Is room 873. As is typical of these sort of tales, it is one of dread, grisly horror, and screams, which is fairly normal for a bad holiday in a hotel, to be fair. So might have been nothing out of the ordinary there. This is also typical for such tales. There are no specific details of the origin of the story. It's one of these sort of things that's legendary, lost in time. The room is located on the 8th floor of the hotel, which would date the supposed origin of the events to any time after 1914, because that was the point where the painted tower got built. So it does sort of date it, but any time in the last 109 years, which doesn't really narrow it down that much. All the other floors have a room ending in 7-3, apart from the 8th floor. So currently there's no room 873. I mean, there's room 871 and a room 875, and a larger than normal gap between. So this is what that arrow is pointing at. So you would typically have doors at even spaces. This has got a wide gap between the two of them. The story as to why there's no room 873, it goes as follows. It goes that many years ago, a husband and wife checked into room 873 with their young daughter. The husband, for reasons unknown, went mad and killed his wife and daughter, presumably killed himself too. No, he wasn't the caretaker, and he hadn't always been the caretaker. No, his name wasn't Charles Grady or Jack Torrance. No, he didn't freeze to death in a hedge mode. Slide 11, please, CJ. Yep, there you go. So this was not the man who went mad and killed his wife and daughter. So the story then goes that the hotel then refurbished the room and carried on using it for guests. which is when the guests allegedly reported the disturbances. Guests would fall asleep in the room to be woken by screams and discovered bloody handprints on the mirrors in the room. Some versions say that the handprints appeared on the walls and reappeared when removed by housekeeping. Other versions say that the handprints had vanished by the time the staff came to investigate. Apparently, a lone young child can be seen walking the halls, presumably a spiritual one rather than a sort of a solid one. Story goes that the situation became so bad that eventually the hotel decided to seal the room off. They did this by removing the door and then filling it in with drywall so it matched the rest of the hallway. The location of where the room was can allegedly be found by the wall sounding hollow at that point in the corridor when knocked on. So people go along, invest and try and ghost hunters go and bang on the wall and it's hollow. Okay, at that point. The rest of the corridor, the walls, when they bang on them, they're solid. The hotel concierge, the staff who deal with the customer relations, who are therefore probably tired of being constantly asked about this, will tell the curious that the room's torn down, the door covered to make it a larger suite. Okay? It's reported that the hotel's concierge's response to questions about the room sounds scripted, which suggests that either the hotel has a dark secret to hide, or more likely they simply don't want to further fuel a hoax. Okay. Slide 12, please, CJ. I don't know how well you can see this, but if you look, it's sort of in the middle and off to the left. You can see room 875 there. It's quite a large room, but this is the floor plan of it. Okay, so as you can see in the photo, room 873 was combined with room 875 in order to turn room 875 into a larger room. The door for room 873 was covered over, not because the room was sealed up, but because room 873 ceased to exist as a separate room. So the room is there, it's not sealed off, it's just part of a larger room, and there's just no need to have two doors going into one room. So they sealed it off. Okay. The internal dimensions of room 875 appear to match those on the floor plan, eliminating the possibility of an unused and bricked up section of the room 873. There is a video on YouTube. I did think of including it on this, but I decided not to because I thought it would just make it a bit awkward. But they go inside and they can look around, and it doesn't look like there's any difference in terms of what it shows in the floor plan here and what you can see by looking around inside the room. So the dimensions are the same, so it's not a bricked off section or anything like that. If the concierge's response is seemingly rehearsed, that the cleaning staff is not. When asked, they say they haven't seen any ghosts in room 875. It's just a normal room. I don't see anything any wrong. So my conclusion on this alleged haunting is that the hotel's account is correct. Room 873 was merged into room 875, and in the process, the door to room 873 was removed and planted over, meaning that it's hollow when not upon. This then led people to invent a ghost story to explain the reason for the absence of room 873. So the room was not, the door wasn't there anymore. They just thought, well, must be a sealed room, must be a horrible murder, and made a story up like that. So they've got back to that. Okay. So there's some other alleged hauntings at the hotel, are more enthusiastically promoted by the hotel concierge, suggesting that they're averse to the hotel having a haunted, but they're not really averse to having a haunted reputation, but they just simply don't want to promote a story of a double murder that they know is a hoax. So they're happy to tell ghost stories, but just not that one, because they know it's just a blocked up room. Well, it's not blocked up room, but it's a sort of the room's been expanded and there's no horrible story behind it. Other ghost stories at the hotel include a former head bellman, Sam McCauley, and also a bride who died in tragic circumstances in the 1930s. Slide 13, please, CJ. Okay, so the gentleman sat in the middle there is Sam McCauley. You can just see the name underneath him. This is the gentleman. I mean, the photograph looks like it was taken sometime in the 1960s. Sam McCauley was a Scotsman, and he was a head bellman at the Banff Springs Hotel in the 1960s, retiring in 1967. He had a reputation for being a friendly and helpful gentleman, and passed away in 1975. But loved the hotel so much that he said he would return. So he was very much a real person. I mean, there's a history to this. Post-mortem, he's apparently carried on as he did in life, friendly old gentleman, helping guests who've no idea that he's actually dead. He's a genuine Casper the Friendly Ghost. For example, two old ladies called reception when they discovered that their room key wasn't working. The bellman on that shift was elsewhere, not available for 15 minutes. Eventually, the bellman reached the room and found the door open. The old lady's already inside. He asked how they got in and said that the other bellman, an old man in a check jacket, had assisted them to get inside. Of course, there wasn't another bellman and the description matched the deceased Sam Macaulay. Other guests have encountered him in his old office, which is now a guest room on the mezzanine floor. He's mostly seen on the ninth floor with mysterious lights, luggage being left outside guest doors, and lift doors being opening and closing, being attributed to him. Okay. With him, I think the fact that there's an actual name for the apparition means that it's something plausible about this, opposed to some of the other tales that are vague in details or possibly made up entirely. I mean, there seems to be quite a few witnesses to this. It isn't a lurid tale. It just seems there's a degree of it seems plausible. I can certainly more believe this than the previous story. Another very famous story associated with the hotel is the Ghost Bride. Okay, can I have slide 14, please, CJ? There we go. Now, that isn't a real ghost. This is actually from the hotel itself. They've corrected this. It's a nice little illustration. So the Ghost Bride. A tragic case of the Ghost Bride. It's got a few sort of, I would say, almost tropes to them. It's sort of certain archetypal sort of elements to it. She died on a wedding day. That's the first thing. Okay. Two. Secondly, she fell down the stairs and broke her neck. So the staircase there. She reputedly haunts the staircase and the ballroom. The accident happened sometime around the 1930s, or possibly 20, but 30 seems to be the most frequent one. Some of the other stories associated with that, some of the elements of the tale, the dress may have caught fire from the candles illuminating the staircase. So they had candles going up the staircase, the dress caught fire. So when she tried to put the flames out, she tripped and fell. Okay, so broke her neck. There's also that there's some people think that they've heard sobbing noises have been heard from the bridal suite when it's empty, and the bride never got a first dance with her new husband. So she was also alleged to haunt the bathroom at the top of the stairs, watches people, and a chill breeze can also be felt on the stairs, even though there's no rub. So they can sometimes hear her dancing in the ballroom as well. There was some vague outlines of someone dancing. The haunting is famous enough to have the bride appear on a Canadian stamp and coin. Next slide, please, today. Yeah. So this is what the Canadians actually came up with. They came up with a stamp and a coin with that on it. And to say that it's creepy is quite a bit of an understatement. I don't know if I'd really want that in my sort of stamp collection or coin collection, but there we go. But sadly, there don't seem to be any records to back the legend up. They've tried finding any evidence of this, but it just isn't any evidence for it. So it sounds like a sort of classic case of the bride dying on a wedding day, such as the mistletoe vow. Possibly there was a genuine accident of some sort that gave rise to the tale, but exaggerated, or it may be from somewhere else. But there doesn't seem to be any. Nobody can seem to find anything, any basis for the story. So the next one, fortunately, I don't have a picture for this, is room 692. In this room, apparently guests feel their pillows move and are being pushed out of bed by something unseen. There's no further information on what the cause of this alleged haunting is, but it's not lurid or dramatic. And I tend to feel that the more lurid and dramatic a ghost story is, the more embellished it's likely to be, and therefore less plausible. I mean, things happen, but it's not.
Quite, isn't
it? Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I just think with that one, it's not there's sort of an element of truth. It's so sort of there's not a sort of a lurid backstory that's got I believe it seems overly embellished. It seems to be very sort of almost low key haunting. Then you've also got there's a phantom barman apparently as well. Slide 16, please, Vijay. Yeah, not this bloke, but I wanted a picture of a phantom barman, so I got him. Phantom barman is claimed to advise inebriated guests to go to bed. So he told them they've had enough, so he told them to go to bed, which is interesting. How they know he's a ghost if they're so inebriated that they need to go to bed is anyone's guess, because let's face it, if you're that drunk, you quite possibly would hallucinate anyway. But it's sort of nice to know that he's a sort of reasonable barman, even though he's now involved with spirits of a different sort. No known calls for this one, but whoever the ghost, as with Sam McCauley, there's no, if whoever the ghost is, there's no real reason to assume that they're definitely linked to the hotel. I mean, Sam McCauley retired and then died 8 years later, and then apparently comes back home to the hotel. This person, again, might just be someone who worked there and subsequently died having moved away, retired or what have you. The final ghost on here is probably one of the most bizarre of them all. Not much information on it, but very bizarre. Supposedly a headless bagpiper. I mean, bagpipes are hard enough to play when one isn't decapitated, but how you play them without a head, I've no idea. I mean, how could you? How is that even possible? But anyway, so I'm pretty skeptical about this one. I mean, Canada's got an association with Scotland, but there's no apparent reason why a headless piper should be in Alberta rather than Scotland. I mean, it's not got, don't have clan warfare in the Rockies or what have you. So it sounds like something out of The Ghost Goes West. I don't know if you've ever seen that film. Anyone's seen that film? But there's a Scottish castle that's moved to the USA, and the resident ghost goes with it. I mean, but the Banff Springs Hotel is clad in local limestone, and all the materials are from Canada, so no possible origin there really. Okay, sort of think that was a tale created for the tourists, maybe, who knows. Okay. So that concludes my presentation on the Banff Springs Hotel. As you can tell, there's quite a few interesting stories in there. One or two I think are plausible. One or two, a few of them I think are interesting, but probably made up. Okay. Thank you. Cheers. Thanks.
Ed, for a fascinating. Can everyone hear?
Yep.
Thanks very much to Ed for a fascinating discussion tonight on a case that I know very slightly. Okay, we've got plenty of time for once, so we're going to have some questions. And Ed is not just a folklorist, he's something of an expert on British hauntings. So if there's a region or an area or a particular interest you have, do ask him, because he has a encyclopedic knowledge of British ghost stories.
Oh, you're putting me on the spot, CJ.
And you've been to Banff. Is that where your dad lives, or is that?
I know he used to live in Calgary, which is a few hundred miles to the east. He now lives in Ottawa, but I have been to Banff, yeah. So we sort of went to. We've been out to the Rockies, and because he was living in Calgary, we had a holiday home in the mountains, and we did spend some time going to Banff and places nearby. Yeah.
Well, what we'll do is I'm going to hand over to Caroline, who'll go through the questions, and then if they don't come up with enough questions for you, then we'll have a discussion afterwards. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, Caroline, ready to take over?
I am. So first of all, I think the first question that I can see was Liz Barclay's managed to spell it correctly. I didn't know the correct spelling of the Scottish checked trousers. They're called trews. So if you come from Scotland, you would always call your checked trews. But yeah, I'm guessing she spelt it correctly because she's proper Scottish, unlike me, who married into it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think she was referring to the photograph of them sat outside the hotel with the checked trousers on.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. That must have been the hotel uniform. They did mention him, the ghost. They saw had a checked jacket, but they're wearing checked trousers. But maybe they changed the uniform. But yeah, as I said elsewhere, that Canada does have a sort of a quite a strong sort of Scottish connection. So I mean, it doesn't surprise me that they've got sort of Scottish style uniforms or what have you. Probably fitted in rather well, I suppose. In being a Scotsman.
Yeah, the first photo that you put up of the village with the mountains in the background, that reminded me of going up to Scotland, passing through Aviemore area, because they've got very similar buildings to that. So I can see where they've got the the architecture ideas from. Either Scotland nicked it from Canada or vice versa.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through Aviemore as well. I know what you mean. It's a ski resort, and it does look a lot like, doesn't it? Yeah. You're right there. Yeah.
Dave Sivia likened the trousers or the trews to Roy Castle wearing them on Carry On Up the Khyber. You're probably too young for that, Ed, aren't you?
I am, but I have seen it, and it's funny. Yes. Yeah. I know what he means. Yes.
Yeah. Everybody was intent on your talk, and nobody's written any of the questions down as we've been going along. So the next comment was from me to do with your ghostly barman. And I said that if we can get one, we can book one for the next ASSAP conference. That would go down really well, because some of us took a long time to go to bed.
Well, yeah, and you wouldn't have to pay him either, which should be even better.
No, well, hopefully not anyway. The next comment was from Aisling. She said Irish bagpipes. I'm not sure what that was in relation to. If you're still there, Aisling, did you want to unmute yourself?
Hey there. Hi.
Oh yeah.
Hiya.
It was just saying about the bagpipes, and somebody didn't have a head, and it didn't make any sense. But the Irish bagpipes, it was like somebody actually set it up, but you didn't need your mouth. It was like a pump thing and under your arm.
Ulian
It
pipes,
was like a
aren't
bag.
they, the ones, I think. Is it Ulian
Yeah.
pipe?
They're pronounced Ullen pipes.
Is that
Alan.
right? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I'm not too sure the place. Yeah. That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it was just, that's what I meant, was like Irish bagpipes, that you didn't need the mouthpiece, so you didn't really need the head.
That's interesting. So, do you get a lot of headless pipers in Ireland then, or tales of headless Irish bagpipers at all, or is that?
Not really, no. None I've heard, no.
No, fair enough. Okay, this is an interesting way how a dead person can play the pipes without a head. That's interesting. Okay, no, thank you. Yes. Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. Thanks.
Well, I think the Irish equivalent, Aisling, would probably be an accordion, would it not, rather than a bagpipe?
No, there is like the Irish bagpipes is like they put like the kind of thing under their arm and they just pump it up and down with their arm, and there's no mouthpiece. Somebody did actually say the name of it or something. But yeah, there is Irish bagpipes that are basically the same as Scottish bagpipes, but there's just no mouthpiece. It's just all done, by the bag.
Thank you. Thanks.
Yeah. Well, a headless accordion player would be like probably French, I would have thought, rather than Irish. Or because it's very, very multinational, isn't it? We've gone from like being Canadian to Scottish to Irish and French, and actually France has got strong connections with Canada as well. So maybe there is a headless French accordion player somewhere in Canada. Be further out east, though.
If not, let's start the gossip off, and we can make one.
You'd have to go. I think you'd have to go to one of the maritime, somewhere out east, the more French Canadian parts, and start a hoax, a rumor about a headless French accordion player. Yeah, that'd be a good one. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I got a couple of comments and things. Julie Elizabeth Boyd said, Banff is amazing. I used to watch those virtual HIGO trips that there were for popular destinations.
Yeah, I definitely.
Have you seen those?
I haven't, but I would definitely recommend going to Banff. Though it's definitely worth a visit. The hotel might be a little bit. I mean, it's a very expensive hotel. It's probably one of the most sort of famous hotels in the whole Canada. But yeah, I'd certainly recommend a stay in Banff or thereabouts, and just enjoy it. It's a beautiful, beautiful part of the world. It's definitely worth a visit.
And the second part of her question is the hotel still there? Which I'm guessing it is. She missed the first part of the talk.
Yeah, the hotel is still very much there. I mean, the the current hotel sort of started in 1914, or 1910 really, but it was completed. The tower was completed in 1914. The other bits of it date from the mid or late 1920s. But the original hotel burned down, like I said, they had to clear it all off. The reason why it burned down was actually quite, they sort of did an investigation and they sort of thought that it was the workmen had been careless, because I think they were doing the foundations for the wings at that point, the wings that they're now. And it started, they managed to start a fire by, I think, the blasting or something. They started to fire. And it set the wooden building on fire and actually damaged the tower, the new tower as well, which was a 13-year-old, 14-year-old tower. And that had some damage to it as well. Some of the windows cracked from it, even despite, I mean, it's made out, lucky it's all made out of concrete and steel. So it stood up a lot better than what the wooden building was, but they had to clear the wooden building to replace it. But yeah, it's apart from that, it's still very much there. Yeah.
Thank you. We've got lots of thanks from the viewers saying thank you for a great talk, interesting talk. And the next comment we come down to is from Jackie Tonks. She said, thank you for the talk, Ed, very interesting. I had the same issue once in an investigation with a combined room. Jackie, did you want to unmute and have a chat?
Yeah, I mean, this is a hotel, the Georgian Hotel in Derby, actually. I've suggested ASSAP could investigate. The owners are very up for ghost investigations. In fact, they decided to, landlords of the pub and hotel could be into ghosts, so it's ideal. But there's one of the rooms there, somebody kept reporting that an old lady was wandering around his room saying, I can't find my room. And he asked her what number a room was. And she said this number, and then she just disappeared. And a couple of people experienced this woman, and I had a strange, almost like feeling of hands on my back when I was in there as well. And I spoke to them, and they said we were really puzzled by this because we have no room of that number. And then we discovered the bathroom and part of that room used to be that room number. So
right.
that was
Okay.
quite interesting. And then they had sealed up the door. So that explained why the ghost couldn't find the room, because it no longer existed. But yeah, so that was another situation where it was, and what they did, they found the key of the original room stuck down the back of where they hang the keys, and it had fallen down. And then they realised, yes, that room had existed. And then they looked at original plans, and they showed me where it had been. So yeah, and it was
Where is this pub?
This is Georgian House Hotel. It's
Yeah.
also got another name, the pub.
Where is it?
Mr. Grundy's or something, isn't it?
Mr. Grundy's, that's it. Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
pretty
Derby.
nice, but they're lovely rooms. They're all traditional 1930s with lovely wood oak paneling. And I've investigated 3 times there, and they're really up for investigations. They're really receptive.
Yeah. Where is it? Which town is it in?
Derby,
Derby. It's on
Ashburton Road in Derby.
Is it close to you?
Yeah, Ashbourne Road in Derby. Yeah, that's where it is. You can know the city.
Yeah.
Ashbourne Road. Yeah, that's the one.
A couple of minutes from your house, so you could, in fact, if anyone wants to go down to Derby, you could set something up there, couldn't you?
Yeah, it's probably about 10 minutes away from where I live. 10, 15 minutes, something like that. Yeah.
Becky's from Derby as well, so we could come up for a weekend. Maybe we should do it. Maybe we should see if Jackie can arrange it. I thought it was in Derby. Jackie, how did you find out about it?
Huh. Yeah, I'd heard it was haunted, but I didn't know that was what it was. I'd not heard of that one. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh,
Jackie, how did you learn about it? Tell us the story.
I just looked on the internet. I was staying in Derby and visiting for something nearby, and I just looked haunted hotels in Derby, and they advertise it all over the website. I thought I'll go there, and they're very good. And I said, can you put me in haunted rooms? I went there very numerous times. They know they can't prime you, so they'll agree not to tell you what's in the room before you go in, then they'll tell you at the end. So they're very good. And I've stayed in about 5 or 6 rooms there now, and I've encountered things in 3 of them. And I won't spoil it, but there is some quite big activity in the bar area that's been witnessed by the owners and multiple drinkers there I spoke to. So
okay, that is interesting. I certainly think we should do an investigation there.
really nice food, lovely rooms, and really interesting place. Yeah, quite an interesting history as well. Used to be a young men's hostel in the, I think, the 20s and 30s. So, you know, it's somewhere that probably had suicides, possibly had other stuff going on. So, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. I mean, I go past it all the time, really, but I've never really, I knew it was haunted, but I didn't know very much about it. So, yeah, well, thanks for that. Cheers, Jackie. Thank you.
Yeah, might be but I'm happy to speak to them if people want me to. I can check it out, but I'm sure they'll say yes. I've been there and bumped into other investigators and made friends there with other investigators. They've got loads of people who go there for it. So yeah.
Yeah, if you could organise something with Ed for a weekend in the summer, we'll go and do it. Yeah.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, send me an invite,
Right.
Ed, off the thing, and I'll click on your thing. Yeah, okay, for Facebook. Yeah, okay.
Okay, cool. So we'll take people who are interested to Derby to hang out, and maybe we can ask Richard Felix to come along as well. Okay, back to you, Caroline.
That'd be great.
Thank you. So the next comment and question is from Inska. Thank you for a very interesting talk, Ed. I missed some. I think she meant to say she missed some of the talk because she was having troubles with her speakers. But have you stayed in the hotel yourself and encountered any anomalies?
Oh, now when I've become rich and famous, yes. Not at the moment, no. No, I haven't done that. No. It's somewhat, yes, as I said, it's a very expensive hotel. I've not been able to do that. No, I'd like to, but I've stayed elsewhere, not there. No.
Thank you. We got a bit of comments on the Ulian pipes, I think it was, that Dave Sevier and they've come up with. Again, I'm having trouble with my speakers tonight. I don't know if it's the link that we've got. If everybody else can hear, okay, that's fine. So then the next question, it says Joanna's iPhone, but it's Nick Tyrrell in disguise. Is there still activity being reported now? Apologies if you'd already said it as he was cooking.
Oh, I see. Yeah. It seems to the 873 one. I think, as I said, I think that's I think it's that I don't think ever really was any activity. I think it's more of a legend type thing. The Sam the Bellman, though, that seems to be sort of, people keep mentioning that seems to be happening quite frequently. I don't know how recently, but it seems to be something that's accepted as being has been quite a frequent event. Sam Macaulay one, with various different phenomenon happening, and that it seems to be something that's an ongoing situation. It hasn't sort of petered out. I don't know how active it is, but it's certainly it's still been reported as being like a current sort of thing. Some of the other ones I don't know. Again, I think that because I think that they're fabricated. I think they'll always keep getting reported because they'll just to keep fueling the story. But yeah, I think the Sam and the Bellman one seems to be still quite frequent from what I've read anyway on it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
The next comment comes from Bill Eyre. He said, we tried to get to Banff on a Canadian holiday some years ago, but unfortunately he couldn't because of massive floods. 6 people were killed and thousands were temporarily made homeless.
Sorry to hear that. That's yeah.
Pretty unfortunate for the people that live there, but I'm guessing that water from the hills has got to come down somewhere, isn't it?
Well, yeah. I mean, you do tend to get landslides and things. Some of the floods. I mean, there's. I think now. I'm just trying to think. There was quite a famous one, and I can't remember it off the top of my head. But it was the side of the mountain slid down a squatted town, and it's Frank Slide, I think it's called. That's quite a well-known one. That was about 100 or so years ago, and that destroyed a town or mining village, killed a lot of people. And then there was one not that long ago, I think probably about 11 years ago, or maybe a bit longer. The side of the mountain slid down, and I think it was by the side of a lake or something. It killed killed some people, several people there. So they do get landslides a lot. Flooding again, mountains, but no, they go somewhere, flood down valleys, etc. But not something I'm that familiar with, unfortunately. And they get lots of wildfires and things. Tend to just Boris on fire. So, yeah, big massive fires out there. That's not the August one. Yeah.
Can I just check with either Claire or CJ? Can you guys hear okay? Because Ed to me is breaking up totally.
Yeah, I can hear him okay.
Yeah,
Slightly
let me just
quiet
take-
side, but not breaking up.
I can hear everyone fine. I don't think I don't have a problem with reception at all.
Okay, I'll just remove my external speaker and see if it makes a difference. Apologies for that. I absolutely lost what you were saying, but if everybody else can hear, I'm guessing that you answered the question for them, so it's no problem.
I haven't any.
The next,
But I haven't. So
sorry. Okay. Right. The next comment comes from Dave Sivia. Back to the bagpipes. There is a tradition of playing the Scotch bagpipes in Canada, so it's probably not surprising there are ghost stories about a piper. But has anyone recorded any story connected with it with the hotel?
That was the thing. I did look it up, and I couldn't find any. There didn't seem to be very much on it. It just seems to be one. It's sort of almost. There seem to be very few reports of it, and you find when you do look at these sort of things, you find that a lot of the stories are repeated, and repeated, and repeated. It's just people repeating stuff that they've already seen. So it got to sort of you get to a point where it's probably just sort of an internet myth or some sort of urban legend, and it's just being repeated. So I couldn't really find anything on that. There seemed to be a story associated with the hotel, but there didn't seem to be any. Didn't seem to be any sort of any sort of origin of it. Again, no origin. There's a couple of them like that on there. Like the Bride is another one. There doesn't seem to be any sort of original anything you can pin it down to. Which is why I think a lot of them are maybe just made up tourists or being thrown to blind from somewhere else or that sort of thing. That sort of thing. I mean, me being skeptical.
A skeptical believer, maybe.
Yeah, well, I believe in it, but I'm not. I'm open-minded, but I'm not sort of gullible. I don't believe any old nonsense people come up with. Well, illicit, no. Yeah. But no, about the bagpipe, I couldn't find anything on that. Nothing, no sort of origins for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the next comment is Stella Gardner. She said, I think I had lunch in that hotel when I visited Banff. My friend paid and we saw no ghosts.
Yeah.
But it's still a win, though. You got your friend to pay, Stella.
And to be honest, that is a very beautiful hotel to be in as well. I think well, you can see the scenery around there. It's incredible. So if you go up, say, Salford Mountain or Mount Ruddle, anywhere around there, it's amazing. So even if you don't see any ghosts, the views are incredible. It's a really nice place to be.
It did look incredible, beautiful.
Yeah, there's like I think Sulphur Mountain. There's like cable car that goes up there and you can go up and just look out over the entire valley with mountains around it. Wonderful.
Okay, so the next comment comes from Dave Sivia. He said there's an M.R. James short story about a haunted, disappearing hotel room.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Dave, is that, I don't know if you can unmute, is that the one there was a film made about it?
I really don't know if there was a film made about it or not. I mean, there was I know about it because there was a series of M.R. James short stories on Radio 4, and one of the ghost stories they read out was this one. I think it's about a
Room
in
13.
Germany,
Denmark. It's
Denmark.
Denmark. It's set in Jutland, Jutland, I should say, if you would do it German, but Jutland, in the town of Viborg, which is down near Ribe in the very far south. And the story involves a chap who's doing historical research who stays at a hotel, and there's a room 13, but like many Danish hotels or Crow, they do not actually have a room 13. But sometimes when he goes to bed, he can see the room 13, and sometimes during the day he can't. And the story revolves around him discovering the reason for this in the historical papers. It's a great story. Room 13, number 13. Yeah. he was actually very fond of traveling to Denmark and to Norway and to Sweden, and he did actually write his Diary of a Troll Hunt, which I've never read, which is a light-hearted piece about his travels in Scandinavia, which I ought to read sometime, really, but I haven't.
Did he actually ever find any trolls then? I'm just wondering around his troll hunt.
It is completely untrue that he brought me back to Livermere, and that is where I'm from. I totally deny categorically that I am a twelve. For those who don't know, I was born 100 years pretty much 100 years to the year from when M.R. James lived in the adjacent property in West Suffolk. So the two of us would have been neighbours, but for a century. And a result of that, we both got into ghosts in different ways. One of us is a brilliant academic and had a distinguished career, and the other one is M.R. James. No, the other one is me. So, yes. Yeah. Anyway, enough of this. Back to the plot. Caroline.
Thank you. Julie Boyd says, thank you for the talk. I'm very interested in these old atmospheric hotels. I think most of us are, aren't we, Ed?
Yeah.
Anyone who likes ghosts, you've got to have a ghost story of a hotel somewhere in your repertoire, haven't you?
Station Hotel Dudley was us, wasn't it, Ed?
Station Hotel in Dudley. Yeah, the going back there the other month was a bit interesting, but
It's changed.
we went to what was it? It was the one in Thetford. Was it the Bell Hotel in Thetford?
Yeah, we stayed at the Bell. Yeah.
Yeah, we stayed at the Rising Sun in Hitchin. That was another one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Then there was the one at where is it? Someone near Wootton Under Edge.
Oh, the old Bell Hotel in Dursley.
Dursley.
Ram in Wootton Under Edge, though that's not really a hotel.
We didn't go to that one, no. But no, the old Bell Inn in Dursley was, but we didn't. That was the one where we were trying. They had a party going all night long or something, didn't they?
Had a nightclub directly beneath us.
That's right. Yeah.
There was glasses were vibrating off the table in the room where we were. You put your drink down, it would bounce off the table eventually from the sound from the speakers. And halfway through a ghost hunt at 3 a.m, I shouted, "Did you hear that?"
Yes.
Like about it was the most ridiculous ghost hunt ever because we could not hear each other's think, let alone actually do any kind of investigation. And things were moving because of the vibration. Anyway, enough of our ghost hunting antics in the past. If any of you would like to come ghost hunting with us, Caroline is getting cases in at a fair rate nowadays. We have a training day coming up. I think we've got 2 spaces left on that because unfortunately a couple of members have had to step down because of ill health. But it's all going pretty well. So if you're interested or if you'd like to get involved in a local group, we've had 1 meeting so far, which has been in, where was it? It was in Thetford in Norfolk. We've got another meeting coming up. We're going to go back on the anniversary of the gnome sightings at Woodson Hall in Nottingham, and I think we're going to have a Nottingham meet, and it sounds like we're going to go and have a look at a hotel in Derby as well. Jackie, have you got anything news on your boat case? Is that still ongoing, or are you still looking at that?
No, me and Graham were going to go and have a chat with him. I've obviously had my gallbladder removed, so that's sort of delayed things a bit. But I have been talking to Graham about going to have a chat with a chap to look at that more. So we hopefully do that in the next couple of weeks with the boat one. So I'll let you know about that. Yeah.
And hopefully we'll find out more about that case that we were trying to do before we were gazumped by Help My House is Haunted, or whoever it was who turned up. So the documentary people. All right. Well, thank you very much, everyone. I hope you've had a pleasant evening. Many thanks to Ed. Next week is
Randy Liebeck.
Randy Liebeck, who's talking about a New York haunting. Is that right? Or
Yeah, that sounds right. I have to come off the page now, but yes, I think it is.
Yeah, I believe it is. I've been looking forward to that for a long time. Unfortunately, next week I'm going to be away. I'm at Games Expo UK, so Claire will be running the session, if that's okay. And I will see you all when I get back. If any of you are at the NEC, we're in Trade Hall 1 and 2. I'll be at the Hilton running role-playing games all weekend. But do come and see us. It's a massive event which focuses on board games, role-playing games, and various games of the ilk, not computer games, but non-computery kind of games. So that's in Birmingham next weekend, but Randy will be wonderful as always. So I'll have to watch the recording. Thank you very much. And I think the week after that is David Sivier, is that right?
I think David's about 2 weeks' time. We've got Amy Butcher, who is a really great up-and-coming folklorist. Who'll be talking to us about haunted Shropshire. She's got a massive passion for the county she comes from and writes about it, and has recently written a radio play too. So she'll be a great speaker. And then our very own Dave.
Yeah, we'll talk to Amy about the Long Mynd and about the legends of Shropshire, Bishop's Castle and Clun. So places I know very well, actually. Yeah, beautiful part of the world. So, okay, fantastic. Thanks to everyone. If you'd like to do a presentation for us, drop a line to secretary@assap.ac.uk and Claire will book you in. Thank you very, very much indeed. Looking forward to seeing Randy next week, Amy the next week after, and Dave the week after that. And I think it's me the week after that, if I remember rightly. So have a good night, everyone. God bless. And let me know when you get your magazines. Just drop it into the Facebook group. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody. Good night. Thank you. Bye.